Hey everybody, EG Madness here, just back with an any percent guide video. Now, I saw a comment on one of my recent records, kind of inquiring about the strategies that I implement, and I thought, that's a great idea. Maybe to get people more interested in the game, or just at least to help people be more informed viewers on like what's actually like happening in the game, because it can just kind of seem like menu spaghetti sometimes. I want to kind of take a minute to clear things up and get people a bit more privy to like what's actually happening in the runs that I'm doing. So first things first, though, I kind of want to start things out with an explanation of the general theory of any percent. Now, the only thing about any percent is that you gotta hit the ending cutscene of the game, basically. As long as you can get to the ending cutscene, you're good. So it's all about minimizing what it takes to get there. So obviously, the Auditor is a big, gigantic fight that you're forced to get through to hit the end cutscene from the end of that big 5-wave fight. So you got to be geared up enough to take on that 5-wave fight in a reasonable amount of time. The path to get there is blocked by this keycard 4 door, which is blocked by a few other doors, but a lot of these can be skipped. A lot of these ones that are like going horizontally, even like some of them that are going vertically, a lot of these doors can just be outright blasted right past. It's just this door cannot, as much as I wish it could be. So we need keycard 4 as well. So we have to come down here. What do we need in order to be able to come down here and get keycard 4? Well, not much, actually. The only thing really standing in your path as a necessity is keycard 1. And so some of the biggest things to optimize are just like, what can you take into the final boss to make things as fast as possible? That's the big thought. Is, okay, you need keycard 1 and you need keycard 4. Great, you can get to the boss room. Now, what exactly should you get in equipment? Well, you just want equipment that gives you high AP regen every turn, high AP, like a high general AP pool, because you just want to be able to take as many actions as you can whenever you can. So obviously the big contributing things to that are just generally making equipment that will give you high AP pools and high AP recharge, so you can just be actionable every single turn. So what's the gear that enables that? So we need to make sure that we have 4 armors to use and 4 headgears to use. So what are the best ones? So well, that's an interesting question, because we also need to consider how close they are. Like, I know some people would argue that the armors that you find up here, like the cosplay armors, like the Deimos and Sanford like the Deimos and Sanford gear is like pretty good up here. But I would argue it's not worth going all the way back here, and the gear is only like kind of just above average. I think the biggest gears are this right here, the Hank gear. The Hank gear is super critical. Just having the incredible AP pools that those armors give, in addition to just like the ability to deflect with like holding a melee weapon, that's insane. 75% deflect chance is ridiculous. You can just like win so many encounters off of that alone. The zombie head is on your way to the basement, So it's a super easy pickup, and by the end of the game, pairing that with the Hank jacket is hyper efficient. Hyper efficient. You can rack up so many easy melee kills with it to just refresh a gigantic AP pool. It's super duper good, very, very efficient AP generation. Great use of melee. This gear, the Sanford shorts and the hook, we don't really care about the hook in any percent, but the shorts this is basically like ammo camo, but better. Ammo camo is just a raw 2 AP armor, which is good. Honestly, it's used in a lot of runs. It was used in runs prior to this. But since we've kind of stripped down to the bare essentials, it's basically just like ammo camo, but better because it has a +1 AP per turn regeneration and even some armor if you do end up actually taking shots, which you shouldn't, because a lot of the times enemies are just naded or precautions are taken against that, but it can help. And then believe it or not, we do not go out of our way for the Savior gear, like the Savior fight gear, like the revolver and the binary sword. As tempting as it may seem to have a armor-piercing revolver, like basically Desert Eagle, but it ignores armor, we don't really care that much. It's still just a 4 damage per AP weapon, and we come across stuff that's way better than that on our route. So that's why this entire area was basically cut out. As well as, I mean, even if you're gonna like go for the Halo, I mean, it's still, you're going out of your way, you're going this way, you're collecting all this stuff, fighting a boss. We just cut that out entirely, because while not having to worry about enemies and rooms that you backtrack in is nice, it is a pretty big time commitment to go take care of all this stuff out of the way of like your just simple line down to the basement, through the basement, through the hallway to get the Hank gear, and then obviously just the line to keycard 4. So it's all about keeping things efficient and getting only what you need. Okay, so we've talked about the Hank armors, we've talked about the Sanford armor, we've talked about the zombie head. So that leaves 2 more sets. So what are we looking at here? In one of these tower rooms, I think it's that one or something. There is the saucy gear. That's not like too out of the way. You do kind of have to take a little bit of an indirect path for it, but it's extremely worth the extra movement because it's just the highest AP gear in the game, highest AP regen. You could just put a piece of it on anybody. It just works fantastic. And then a gear that was a bit more of a somewhat recent revelation. This gear right here, the Savior gear, like his heavy plate in particular, is extremely good. The heavy plate it's just one of those things where like you only have one heavy class character, and heavy class is the only class that can use the rifles for 2 AP. Otherwise, they tend to be a little AP inefficient. I mean, you can still use like an M60, the big like gray rifle that I use at the end of all my runs, for 16 damage for 3 AP, and it's still better than like a Deagle and stuff like that. But it's even better if you can get 8 AP per, or like 8 damage per AP, just making things more efficient, just like putting on the heavy plate or something like that. The heavy plate pairs extremely well with the saucy head. Just makes it so you have a gigantic AP pool that's hyper efficient with using rifles, which is great. Definitely worth going slightly out of the way after the tricky fight for. And then last but not least, the piece of resistance right here, the clown makeup. So it's basically just like cheating. Like you just put the clown head on, and when you have the PID after fighting Tricky, that's another thing. You have to get the PID because the clown makeup plus PID is just an absolutely broken combo. It trivializes so much of the auditor fight. It's not even funny. So yeah, just absolutely gigantic. Like 2 range in every direction, 32 damage explosion that stuns. Stupidly good. Stupidly good. You would be silly not to use it. So that is the theory crafting behind what I'm collecting along the run. It's just the bare necessities, just enough to get my guys through with enough AP, with the Sanford gear, the zombie head, the saucy gear, the clown makeup, the savior plate, the Hank gear, and then you can take into account weapons as well. So optimally, now I only really worry about 4 weapons because there's only really like one weapon that you're gonna want to be like really actively using on each of your guys. So to kind of like contemplate that a little bit, it's tough making like the completely optimal choice for something like that. But obviously you want 2 M60s. 2 M60. The M60 is just the best weapon in the game, bar none. Insane 8 damage per AP output. Just absolutely ridiculous. Super efficient to have as many of those as you can get for the auditor fight. Or like as many of those that you can use efficiently, like with the heavy plate or with the heavy. So right here, this locker contains a lot of solutions. With an M60 and the danger sign. Now that's an interesting weapon right there, the danger sign. The danger sign is a 3 range melee weapon, 8 damage, 2 AP locked. You can't get it any cheaper, but it also can't be any more expensive. So it's a guaranteed 3 range, like rifle, like line hitting effect, hits every character in the line that you're swinging in. It can be a very, very efficient weapon for just hitting a lot of enemies in a row. 50% armor piercing chance because it's a melee weapon. That's about it. I mean, it's a really good like half armor piercing weapon that has that efficient 4 damage per 1 AP number, which is kind of like one of the best divisible like numbers in the game, because a lot of these like end game enemies that you have here at the auditor have like 40, 32, 16, 64 health, stuff that's like pretty easily divisible by 8, that you can just like calculate your damage pretty cleanly with that, and like the M60 and the clown bomb and everything like that. It all just clicks together quite nicely, all the puzzle pieces, which is why we don't really care for the Bren gun that we get alongside the Savior gear, because its damage number is weird and awful, and I hate it. So yeah, that's basically all of like the main gear that you worry about, because with a glitch that will be explained later, item duping, you can duplicate some weapons. So as long as you have one M60, you can make it 2 M60s. As long as you have one danger sign, you can make it 2 danger signs. And the only other weapon that we like kind of worry about a little bit, which I don't even know if we like necessarily like need to per se, but I do get this locker because it has flashbang grenades before the tricky fight, just to make the tricky fight easy. Is the Dragon Sword, which kind of has like a shotgun hitbox where it's like a 2 wide, 3 long, like kind of like this. Like you hit this space and then it hits the ones around it, kind of deal. And it does 8 damage, 2 AP, locked like that, so it can't get any more or less efficient. So it's one of those things where you can just kind of throw it on anybody, but preferably the person that is operating as the melee weapon specialist. In this case, our person wearing the Hank armor and the zombie headgear, because that makes it super easy for them to get a melee kill. It's just another like hitbox arrangement that they have that just makes that stuff super duper easy. So like in addition to like the danger signs, like 3 in a row, collateral hitbox, this is just like a different arrangement of hitboxes where enemies can just be set up a different way and you can take care of them like that. So 5 weapons total that we like really need to worry about that are efficient enough to take into the auditor. 2 M60s, 2 danger signs, and the dragon sword. And that's all we really need to care about, because this fight, my bad, the tricky fight right here and the auditor fight right here are the only 2 like major fights that we're like really worrying about. There's like a couple other encounters that we do on the way to the room. Like we do this encounter because it's quick, we do this encounter because it's quick, and we do this encounter because it's quick, and we get 6 stacks to take into the final boss for our PID after like warping somewhere close to this area. But those are the general ideas. We route to pick up our gear, go like this way, get this gear, pick up key card 1, go down the 1 elevator, head down here to the basement because we can skip past the doors. A lot of these other key card doors you don't really worry about. It's a technique that I'll explain later. Then we come down here, pick up our Hank gear, head straight to Tricky, grab our dragon sword, and also we like to get this locker because it gives us just enough flashbangs in conjunction with this locker to take on Tricky with a healthy number that shouldn't run out. It can run out, but it shouldn't. And then after Tricky, we just pick up the gear, head up here, and then we warp. And we try to get as close to like around here as possible. If you can land on this like elevator space exactly, that's completely ideal, because we just want to make it as easy as possible to get the clown makeup just right away, just as fast as possible. And then once you're done with that, you want to try to warp as close to this room that I circled earlier as possible, just this one right here, so that you can just head straight right, just right to the tower, and then straight to the auditor from there. So, I have the locker marked. It's this one. This is the saucy room. I'm just goofy. So that's the general idea behind the route. That's the explanation for the general theory behind just the underlying principles of what makes the route of the run. But now let's see it in action, and let's explain some of the techniques as they come up. So here, let me just switch over to the VOD. Okay, and then I'm just going to play through the video, and I'll explain things as they come up. Okay, there we go. It's going to be kind of funny listening to myself. That was not me pressing the load button and starting the timer, I assure you. Yes, it was. I'm a good player. I play this game well. Well enough. Alright, so this begins the menu tomfoolery. So, something that you need to understand right from the very get-go is you're going to see this menu a lot. My objective for most of the movement throughout all of the rooms that I do is opening up this save menu before this like walk into the room animation finishes. So you see how they're walking into the room here? there is a whole like movement is enabled versus movement is disabled system. Until your guys finish filing into the room and the animation completes, your movement is disabled. The system either like judges your movement disabled or enabled based on a couple different things. And this movement animation has it disabled until it finishes. Then once this animation finishes, like it finishes in the background, your movement is enabled. Now, the thing about opening menus is that opening menus also usually disables your movement unless it's the options menu. So in this case, when I open the save menu, it disables my movement. But my movement is already disabled because the animation in the background is still playing. So it does nothing to the state of me being able to move. But the animation finishing in the background re-enables my movement. So my movement is enabled and I have this menu up. Normally, you're not supposed to be able to walk around with this menu up. So this is like the first big exploit that you will continuously see throughout the course of the run. So as soon as it registers me moved into this next room, I just save. Oh, did it lag? Oh, I think it did. Yep, so I tab up, I press load, and then that closes the menu, but then I like navigate my tab down to the save load button and I reopen the menu before the guys finish filing into the room. So I still have the menu open and I can still move. And I just keep doing that. And because this is 4 encounters in a row, I get to this third room, I load into it, and then I do something called a double move. So double moving. This is an interesting technique that has become really prevalent recently. So, with the advent of kind of like what I was just explaining with animations and movement re-enabling, so I loaded into this room and then I select move to the right before they even finish filing into the room. And so that enables them, as you can see, like towards the end there, they kind of stood still. That was them finishing the animation. So my movement got re-enabled again with the movement options in the same room. So see how it says go east there? I can click to go east again. And it actually registers the second movement because as soon as you click the first go east, it registers that you went to that room to the east. So clicking it again moves you east from that room. So bam, 2 movements without even seeing the first room that I moved to because I moved from it before the animation even like really started going into that room. So we make it through those first 4 encounters and then we head this way. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep, a little bit of a fumble there, but I saved and loaded, did another double move to make it past the second encounter that's usually over there. Now this is the first big thing. So how I just taught you about double moving, this is its first application of actually going through a key door. So as you can see, that how we're kind of like right here right now. Hang on, let me up the brush size. We're right in that room right now. So doing the double movement to the right puts us in a room that is normally not available to us. So, bam. Made it right into that room. I can grab the valuable armor that I will use at the end of the game. I grab the first key on the way back. And then this is very important. Very, very important. So, loot lockers work the same way as basically any other menu, except the options menu. It's one that you can't move when you open it, but you can move if you open them before the movement animation finishes. So, and it's another menu that re-enables your movement after you close it. So, in these instances, I go in, I take the stuff from the locker, but I leave the locker open while I move so that I can do exactly this. I walk into a room with an encounter, but I close the locker so my movement is re-enabled, so I can just move right through the encounter. Don't need to care about it at all. Not taking any risks. It's just time saving. So a lot of times, like when you're like moving through rooms, it's super easy to just open the save menu before the animation finishes by just like pressing tab down and then enter, like I do there. And then you kind of have to play around with moving with tab in the background, figuring out how to navigate that tab to exactly where you need it to move, because for example, like things like that where the elevator's in the background, you can't click it through the menu, so you have to play with the buttons sometimes. Now, this is a pretty important setup here. So I just saved through 2 encounters after finally like going down through the elevator, and I'm keeping this locker open in the background very intentionally. I close this menu so that I can move through that fight. I reopen the save menu before I finish moving. I save, load, and then I go through this key door right here by double moving in this room to the left. So I just move straight through that 3 door, and it brings me to this portal room right here. And that's why I kept that locker open, so that I could close the locker after I save skip into the room, so that I can move out of it without having to confront any of that fight, because that fight would be really long and really crappy otherwise. So now here we are in the basement. Take the zombie head, like we were talking about earlier, very vital piece of gear. Keep both of these menus open, so I can close one, close another. Bam, there we go. Didn't have to deal with either of those rooms. Didn't have to save in either of them. Now, we specifically avoid saving in this part of the game, because when we get the PID later, and we can click it to warp around the facility, we cannot warp to any room that we have not cleared. So that's a thing. We try to keep as few rooms in here cleared as possible so that our luck is skewed to warp to where we want to. So that's why I do not save and double move through those rooms, is just to make for safer RNG later in the run. So this is an example of using a double move after an elevator. Because the movement options in that room, you can go all 4 directions. You just load in that room, go down, and then click right, and bam, you are down right. You are in the hallway for the Hank gear. Now, the Hank gear hallway has 2 sets of 2 encounters, so it's super easy to just double move past them. Not quite sure why this paused. Oh, it might be my external drive. Might be thinking. Oops. Is it good? Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Technically, you don't need to save... Well, yeah, you do have to save double move there. Because, I mean, unless you open the locker on the way back. So, technically, I probably don't need to do that. But I just did it because I just wanted to move fast. Double movement is faster than doing that, like, 2 menu closing method. But, like I said, it does skew the RNG for the warp a little bit. So... it's kind of weigh your options there. So I open the save menu again, and I move through the room below this room without saving. I open the save menu before I get up here. This locker is really important. It contains 2 flash grenades that will be extremely helpful for the tricky fight. So we kind of have to like tab key move around and try to take this locker in the background behind this menu. But like you see, I can get it. I get the 2 flashbangs. I move through one room.
Oh no, I missed the timing.
Unfortunate miss there, but I tried to do a double move here so that I didn't have to save over that room. So we skip 2 rooms of this hallway completely so that we don't end up teleporting to them later. We open the save menu here, so that we can save over in this room. It usually has a ton of dudes in it.
So janky.
And then we set up for a very, very, very big skip. So let's go back to the map real quick. As you can see, this is where we're at right now, down here, in like going back and forth between these two rooms. Now, this like little cluster up here is kind of rough because it's a key door room that you have to skip, followed by an encounter and then another encounter. So we have to find a way to skip past the key door with a double movement while still having two menus up that we can close once we get into these rooms, so that we don't have to just do a bunch of fights after skipping a key door. So that's what I'm setting up for right now. I'm trying to get it so that I've 3 menus open. I use the save menu to skip past the door, and then I use the 2 other menus to skip past the fights once I'm past the door. So that's what it is. You load into this room, you go to the room to the right, open the save menu, come back to this room, open the locker, go back to the main room, open the equipment menu, navigate to the elevator, and then do your save skip here. There we go. Close the locker, close the equipment menu, there you go. Simple as that. And now you're in there without having to do any fighting, right in front of the clown makeup elevator. So now this area is fine to save over as many rooms as possible, because after you do the tricky fight, you do want to try to warp as close as you can to the clown makeup, because that saves you having to do a lot of save skipping on the way back, because we do not have the halo. We can't just walk through all of these rooms that we cleared out earlier, because there is the chance that the enemies will respawn. So you need to play really careful around that. So as you can see, I just save and load, just all the way through the facility, just continuously keeping that menu opened up before the animation finishes. Just keep moving, keep moving.
Damn. Save menu gaming, right?
Yep, and then I come over here. This locker has the 2 flashes and the dragon sword. Good melee weapon for tricky, and 2 flashbangs. 4 flashbangs is kind of low for being able to do tricky, but it's doable. And that's what we need. We don't need comfortable, we need doable.
Insane.
So, funny thing about the tricky fight, though, is we only really need 1 character geared up for it. We don't really worry about the rest of them, because
I played like that entire
the thing about Tricky is that he is strictly weak to melee. So we don't need to like worry about a lot of people having melee too, because as long as we have 1 juiced up guy that can just hit him with melee and knock his like individual forms like health bars down once every single turn, because there's no use really trying to do it again through the smoke. It just would take like too much equipment time and too much specific setup and stuff like that, which is what I had before. I was doing setups and stuff like that before, but just to maximize time save and just like as little like going out of the way for specific gear as possible, I made this change where you just focus on gearing up 1 super juiced guy, and he just goes in and just melees the boss down. This first form of Tricky has 16 health, or 15, something like that. So 2 swings of the sword is 16 damage. It's enough. It takes out 1/4 of his health, because you are killing the form with melee. Then you just have him back off, and he can take 1 clown bomb, because these NPC clown bombs do 16 damage, not 32. So he can take a clown bomb if need be, but only 1, and no extra gunshots. So that's the thing. With this 1 guy, you can just kind of warp in, do your melee damage, warp out to safety, avoid the clown bombs. That's kind of how you do this fight. This second form of Tricky has exactly 5 HP, so it only takes 1 sword swing to get through this one. And that's the thing. If you do them like with melee swings in the correct order, you will always get the same forms of Tricky. Like his first one always has 16 health. That second one, if you melee the first one, always has 5 health. And then the last two, if you keep following the melee pattern, always have 16 or 15 health. I'm not sure the specific.
Can I get a flash?
See, so that's something that we usually like to rely on is these ATP guys that fight alongside Tricky have a chance of dropping flashes. So that's a good source of supplies to be able to help finish the fight, but they don't always do that. And I was not super lucky. I did not get health packs, I got health packs, I got smokes, but I did not get flashes. So typically we like to see flashes just to make the fight a little more safe, because there is a chance that a lot of your characters get stunned like you see here, and you just can't act on some turns, so you end up having to use flashes. But it is what it is.
Hey.
Luckily, my melee guy was not stunned, so he could go right back in and
I don't need
clean up that one.
I might need it.
Yep, no more flashes.
I don't
so, but thankfully he didn't get stunned. If he did get stunned, would have been a little screwed, but that's just how this run is. It's very tight, very specifically resource intensive. That's why we go to get 4 flashes before we take on this boss. Otherwise, it's very likely that we just wouldn't make it through.
I definitely don't need it. Holy smokes, that Tricky split. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was pretty lucky. 2 waves where the melee guy did not get stunned. Very, very lucky.
Tricky graced me today with good luck and fortune.
So we take those weapons, and then once we get to this room, we close the menu as we enter this room, enabling our movement before we finish filing in. So we are able to move up, and then the animation finishes in the background, so we're able to move up again. And then there we go. We're at the top of here, and we grab this invisible locker with the heavy plate. We save, and we keep the save menu open after we load back into the room by kind of tab keying around a little bit. And then we press the PID and see where we end up. Where we end up, because we don't have the halo, sometimes we'll have enemies in it. That's why we keep the save menu up, so that we can save through any enemies that we might spawn into.
This probably.
So we spawn right down here. I accidentally save, so I kind of had to put up with it. Normally, I would just load again and then open the save menu again and try to get a closer warp, but it is what it is. We just try to get as close to that room as possible. In this case, I kind of had to hold the L. We try to move around with the save menu as much as physically possible here, because
This does not bode well.
moving back to the clown makeup elevator from this area, we're going to walk through a lot of encounters like this, so we just need to be ready to get out of them. So 2 encounters in a row there.
This really does not bode well.
Kind of scuffed opening the menu again there.
Bodes terribly, actually.
Yep. So there's 2 encounters there, skip both of them, go up the elevator. There's 3 encounters in the row there. I got lucky, didn't get the first one, got the second one. Save, skip to the side again to get to the elevator room quickly. Now we go down the elevator. Grab the makeup real quick. To be honest, if I come from the left here, I could probably just take the lower route. But that's something for another run. So I got really, really, really lucky on my warp here. After I got the clown makeup, I got the warp right under the room that we were looking to get. This room, here, let me highlight it on the map. This room right here that I just drew the bigger circle around is like right next to the room that is like the perfect optimal warp that is just a straight beeline just to the right. So that's about as good as it gets. It's a really good warp spot. I got super duper lucky, and I was just able to go up and get my 3 future encounters lined up so that I could charge up my PID for the final boss. So that's that. So we look to handle these fights real quick. We can dispatch these 2 guys with a single swing if the back guy doesn't block.
That's pretty good.
That was pretty lucky because the only guy that like really needed to block to kill all 3 of those in 2 swings did. And then, of course, he runs out of AP, and I don't feel like making the other party members fight because they do damage pretty slow, so I just end the turn and let Hank deflect. This is another relatively quick encounter. Hack through 3 guys there. Typically, you want to warp behind this guy with the Terminator shades because he can take 2 hits. So this is a more effective way to make sure that you get both of them. This was just kind of like a rushed... I was in a bit of a rush, and I clicked and did the fight a bit wrong. Yeah, see what I mean? This, I just don't want this guy to shoot my party, so I dispatch him with 2 shots. And then I hope to recoil that guy's 6 back at him, but I don't. But it's fine, it works out anyway.
We move on.
And then this room is really, really fast. All you have to do is just take 2 pot shots with the sword at this and this to kill them all if they don't block. And then you just end turn and let him deflect the Bren gun right back at this guy, and it should kill him.
Really? You asshole.
Yep. Nice, easy. It doesn't always go that cleanly, but I mean, 75% chance to deflect.
That's pretty good.
Then we take a nice quick route, pick up that saucy gear that we were talking about in the beginning. We were talking about run resources.
Damn. I was like thinking for a second.
Follow the route. Kind of had a little bit of brain fog for a second there.
This warp tower split's going to be a little slow. Alright,
now this is where the pieces of the puzzle all come together. This is where all of the things that I've gathered up to this point need to be equipped so that we are just ready to handle this fight as efficiently as possible.
Save menu.
So we have this guy, CQB1, equipped with the zombie head and the Hank jacket and melee weapons so that he always deflects and maximizes the amount of AP that he can spend per turn by turning every melee kill into a massive AP reset. So we try to outfit him with a good mix of... He's the only one that we really care about 2 weapons on, because giving him more ways to kill things is more ways to like easily activate his resets. So makes it danger sign, makes it so that he has to move less for opponents at a longer range, and Dragon Sword is good for multiple enemy setups that you'll see throughout the fight. So anyone that we equip with an M60, we kind of don't need to worry about what their other weapon is, because the M60 is just better. The M60 is just the best weapon in the game. So because he's CQB, we put the heavy plate on him so that he can use the M60 for 2 AP instead of 3. And we put the saucy headgear on him so that he has a lot of AP to work with to shoot that thing 4 times, and gets 6 AP back per turn, so that's 3 shots every single turn. Huge. Then the assault, we just put a really big AP pool on him, and we don't really have a ton of like particularly fantastic weapons for him, so we'll come back to him in a sec. So this is the ideal armor setup for your clown. You always want to have the saucy suit on him because it doesn't give him any health, makes him really easy to pick off for the enemies. so that they just get that big 32 damage explosion off really, really easily. And then, in addition to that, they respawn with a ton of AP. They respawn with 6 AP, actually. So it gives you a lot of wiggle room for like what you want them to do once they come back. It makes it so that they can afford to be killed a lot, which is very good. It's what you want on your clown makeup unit. Save. Which in this case, we want it to be the heavy because it's basically the most forward unit on one side of the room, which you will see why that's important once we get into the fight. Switch. Now, how I was talking earlier about item duplication to make good weapons for your team, this is where I'm going to do that. So I saved with my equipment on my guys, then I swapped off onto the hook so that I would have 1 in stock here. And then I swapped off of the danger sign on my CQB so that I would have 1 stock. And then I load. I still have the same original equipment on, but my stock is still 1 for both the danger sign and the M60. It's just a little bug with, I guess, how the game keeps track of your weapon stock. So we are able to duplicate another danger sign. For the assault, it's just an efficient weapon that they can use. I mean, 8 damage, 2 AP, 50% through armor. It's just a generally good, like, armor piercing, decent damage weapon. Efficient numbers. And then in addition, because you have the Hank mask, you can just like teleport in range, so the range doesn't even like really matter. So it's just good.
Give that. Options menu.
And so that's how we do that. We have the 2 M60s now. We have the danger sign on our assault, and we have our melee weapons on our zombie unit. Now we open the options menu here because of a very interesting exploit that you're about to see. So we open the locker, take the DNA, and the fight starts. Okay. Now, normally, once this fight starts and the auditor gets ready to spawn in the first wave of enemies, because this is a fight that takes place across 5 waves.
All right.
Normally, you can't move into any positions, and he gets the drop on you, and there's nothing that you can do before the fight starts. You just kind of have to take a wave of combat. But in this case, if we come into the room with the options menu, take the DNA, and then close the options menu, we have the ability to move our guys around before he throws his side down. So we can take this opportunity to kind of set up and get things balanced on our side. So we get our zombie guy moved up so that when it's the time for our turn, he's just in position to make his swings. And we position the clown on this square exactly because this is the only square that you can start out on where you will hit all 3 targets that spawn in over here with a singular clown bomb. So that is how that works.
We are the goats, my friend.
So he stays up there, gets his reflects. He kills all 3 on that side. Clown bomb.
No, dude.
Gets the reset with his melee weapon.
Messed up.
The zombie just cleans it up extremely efficiently.
No, dude.
Very good ability to hit through armor because of weapons. Now these guys, low armor class, just bullet sponges, so we just pump as much M60 damage into them as possible. Make it so that they're easy resets for our melee guys.
Oh, way, man.
In this case, we don't even really worry about the zombie. He got his reset, so just try to do as much damage as possible in this turn. Heavy.
Second one?
Lights these 2 big guys over here because they're 40 health, not 32, which dies to the clown bomb. But now they're all within range for the clown bomb, so he returns to his original space so that when it comes to their turn, they die off to his explosion.
Bro.
I just do as much
No
damage
way.
as possible.
Oh, damn.
Could have got the kill there for a clean start to next round, but this is fine.
I knew it.
Just make sure that he stays topped off so that he doesn't die to a stray bullet and uses one of my PID stacks. Super duper important that we budget these. Very smart, because we're using them for 1 clown respawn per wave. Alright, so we're able to get a nice clean 1-hit reset at the beginning of this wave. And then on to wave 3, the saucy wave, where he just spawns 2 saucies that can only be damaged
really
with the
so
weapons
far,
that they are currently holding.
Like, really, really good.
In this case, it's usually, because we're only using like 2 weapons really, the danger sign and the M60, they're going to spawn in with one of those 2. So that makes it super easy. Like, either of these guys with the danger sign can hit one that's holding the danger sign, and any of these guys with the M60 can hit one that's holding an M60. So it just super duper easy. I think they have like about 20 health, if I remember correctly. So all they like really need in order to die is like a swing from the sign and 1 M60 bullet or something like that, or just 1 hit from the clown bomb, because they are not immune to clown bombs. Very important thing to remember. And then I do this movement tactic here that I don't feel like is very well understood, so I'm gonna just explain it right now. So next wave has 2 saucies that spawn on this side of the room, and they are a pain in the butt to get rid of, because you need to hit them with their specific weapon or a clown bomb. It can be very frustrating to dispatch them normally, and you cannot hit them with stuns. So they will just function like normal every single wave. I mean, you can smoke them out, but on here, I'm gonna let this play out, and you'll see why I do this after I do it. So I get all 3 of these characters bunched up in the corner here. 1 in the bottom left corner space, 1 in the space directly above him, and 1 in the space directly to the right.
Okay.
And then I end the turn and blow this guy up to save time.
This is working out great. This is just fine. This it won't be sub 10, but. Or not, what am I talking about? It actually, yeah, it's probably going to be sub 11. Sub 10. I'm just spitting words at this point.
So, the first enemies to spawn in are the saucies. So, normally they would spawn in 1 in each corner of the room. So we let the one that's in the top corner spawn in the top corner, but this one that would normally be in the bottom corner gets pushed to spawning out here, because all of these corner spaces are taken up. He occupies the next available space, which is 2 spaces forward, which you will see is very important for a very specific setup. So he also resets our position so that we are all directly across the room from all of them. So no like advantageous position setting beforehand. But we can manipulate where his guys spawn in at. So that's exactly what we do. Now 6 AP, what our clown bomb respawns with is just enough to make it right directly 2 spaces above this saucy. So that's what we do. And you see they're not affected by flash. So they can really easily dispatch the rest of the team when they are not properly prepared for. We cannot smoke that wave because the auditor does, so we need to be able to deal with them somehow. So this is how I do it. Because this saucy that spawns in the top side of the room is the first one to act, because we get within a 2-space range of him horizontally, he hits us and is also in range of the clown bomb. So we position here to just catch as many other of the enemies as possible, as well as both saucies with 1 clown bomb at the beginning of the wave. Okay. So that knocks out a whole 4 dudes immediately, including the 2 saucies that are an absolute pain to deal with. So it makes it super duper easy.
That's a good take.
That's why I do that setup. To get the saucy in position so that we can walk 2 tiles above him so that the other saucy kills them both before any of the rest of our team has to deal with them at all. Then it's just a matter of picking off the rest of the enemies. These 2, this guy in the top left and the zombie, are the 2 most armored units, but the zombie is also a gigantic health sponge, so it's super easy to just pump a lot of M60 shots into him. Which is what I do. We want to be careful about killing this clown because it can stun our units.
Can you please move?
So we usually want to try to leave him for last if we can.
Thank you.
So we just let him deal whatever damage he can. Knock him out because we were going to end the turn anyway.
Yeah, you know what?
And then we let the clown bomb kill him because we have an extra charge left.
I was entirely okay with that situation. Even though I probably shouldn't be, and I probably should have saved that in the dire case that something goes wrong.
So what I meant there when I was talking about that, in the dire case that something goes wrong, we need to make sure that the clown respawns this wave. Because it takes not 1, but 2 clown bombs to kill Hank. So we need to have at least 1 charge here, but it's usually good to have multiple for safety in case Hank does not get stunned by the clown explosion that we set up here.
But
which does happen, and sometimes he will just go on a rampage that kills your entire team. Hank is a scary unit. So we just back everyone out of range and make sure that they prioritize the clown. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why I choose to flash here. I probably don't need to, but it is what it is. So Sanford kills him. Does 32 damage to Hank. Hank only has 8 health left. I believe he's a 40 health unit. Sometimes he does not get stunned there by the clown bomb. Thankfully, he was stunned there, so he didn't come after my team. So the clown respawns, will be prioritized. I just end the turn so that he gets hit by a second clown bomb and dies. And that's the end of the run. So that's the logic and all of the gameplay and the intricacies of Madness Retaliation glitched any percent. Lots of menu manipulation, like movement, tech, basically just making sure that you always have the ability to move around with the save menu, picking and choosing which rooms you save over to make sure that you don't come back to them when you have to warp around and collect the final things for the final boss. Collecting only what you need, worrying about only equipping what you need, and what makes the fight the fastest. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, most of this run revolves around the final boss. As you can see, it's just by far the longest split. Usually takes about like 3 to 3.5 minutes. So anything to just keep that as short as possible. It's a run solely focused around that fight, basically, and prepping for it. So that's all the work that goes into prepping for it, the absolute bare necessities that we can get away with, and how to execute on that, and all of the strategies that I do. So I hope that this was insightful. If you have any additional questions or concerns or suggestions even, go ahead and just leave them down below in the comments. I read all the comments. Thank you all for your support. I appreciate all of my subscribers and viewers and everything. Thanks for sticking with me for this long. I appreciate you guys. I hope this gets people interested in Madness Retaliation any percent running. I think it's super interesting for a Flash game. A lot of like really unique intricacies. And while a lot of the run is kind of like running around with a menu open, high APM menuing for like 7 minutes, and then like or 6 minutes, and then like 4 minutes of like actual like boss fighting action. I think it's a genuinely cool run of like an old game that's been explored a lot. And I think it deserves a lot of love, more than it gets right now for sure. So thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video, whatever I decide to make. Maybe it'll be another PB, who knows. All right, take care everyone.